If Giannis Antetokounmpo wants to win an NBA championship, he needs to get out of Milwaukee. He needs to request a trade from Milwaukee. Now, do I think with the roster that the Bucks have, I think they have a mediocre roster outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo, but because of how great of a player he is, can he elevate that team to potentially make a run in a weak Eastern Conference? Yesterday on First Take, Shams Charania went on and he talked about that the situation in Milwaukee with Giannis Antetokounmpo, his future is still undecided with that basketball team, which I think is absolutely crazy to me. The fact that the Milwaukee Bucks waived and stretched Damian Lillard to bring in Miles Turner, that to me, if they didn't know that Giannis Antetokounmpo was going to be with that team for the long run and they did those moves, that is absolute mismanagement on their part. That is, to me, negligence. But that's besides the point. If Giannis Antetokounmpo wants to win an NBA championship, he needs to get out of Milwaukee. He needs to request a trade from Milwaukee. Now, do I think with the roster that the Bucks have, I think they have a mediocre roster outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo, but because of how great of a player he is, can he elevate that team to potentially make a run in a weak Eastern Conference? Maybe, but I would still take New York over them. I would take Cleveland over them. I would take Orlando over them. I would take a healthy Philadelphia over them. And that to me is just in the Eastern Conference. When you go to the Western Conference, now you're talking about Oklahoma City, Houston, Golden State, Minnesota, the Lakers. I just think that there are too many teams in the NBA that I just think would be able to handle the Milwaukee Bucks with the roster that they have. That makes me say, okay, if Giannis wants to win an NBA championship, not just make a run in the Eastern Conference, he needs to request a trade and get out of Milwaukee. And I understand why he wants to stay in Milwaukee, the whole loyalty stuff. It's all great. I understand that. But he is just not going to win a championship with that franchise. And if Giannis Antetokounmpo moved on from the Milwaukee Bucks, would anybody look at him any differently? Because everybody knows that this roster isn't good enough for him to win a championship. And he won a championship in Milwaukee. And it's not like the team that he had around him when he won that championship was like what we saw from the Boston Celtics last year, you know, where they had an insanely good roster. It was a really good roster that they had. But Giannis Antetokounmpo and the impact that he has on the game and how great of a player he is was able to elevate that Milwaukee Bucks team to a championship. And that was the first championship that they won since they had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, that's how long it's been since that franchise has won a championship. So I wouldn't look at Giannis any differently if he requested a trade, because I think he really wrote it out with this franchise. And I think ultimately what really, did this franchise in the Milwaukee Bucks is the fact that they missed on that Damian Lillard trade. And I do give them credit for trying that, because at the end of the day, you can't push teams to make moves that get them over the top or that could potentially get them over the top. And then if it doesn't work out, criticize them, because Damian Lillard, when they traded for him, was maybe the best point guard in the NBA. And I think that the fit between him and Giannis, I thought that it was a pretty good fit. So I give the Bucks credit for actually trying to get something done there, because again, you can't get on a franchise and tell them, hey, push the envelope and put all your chips in the middle of the table. And then when it doesn't work out, criticize them for it. So I absolutely do give them credit for it. It's just unfortunate that it didn't work out for them, because ultimately that is the thing that I think is going to do this franchise in. But like, when you look at the Eastern Conference, I know the Bucks roster is painfully mediocre. But again, I do actually like the fit with Miles Turner and Giannis, a guy that can hit shots from the perimeter. And I just think that ultimately, when it comes to this Bucks team, I just don't see how they're better than they were last year. I think the only reason why I would expect them to go further this year than they did last year is just because of the quality of the conference in the Eastern Conference, because no Boston. I don't think Boston is going to be a team that really contends for anything next year, just because, well, this upcoming season, just because Tatum's not going to be around. Indiana, they lost Miles Turner to the Milwaukee Bucks, ironically, and no Tyrese Halliburton. I think that they're going to really struggle to even make the playoffs next year. So 2 of the top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference from last year aren't going to be in the picture. And the Milwaukee Bucks were one of the top 5 teams. So, to me, I think they could contend in the Eastern Conference, but I just don't think, even if they somehow get out of the Eastern Conference, that they have any chance of winning, an NBA championship, because Jason Timp actually did a great job describing this. You can get to the NBA Finals and win a game or 2 and still not be close to winning a championship. And I just think he did a great job explaining that. And that's the way I feel about the Milwaukee Bucks, that even if they were to get to the finals, yeah, maybe they can win a game or 2, which, by the way, I wouldn't predict them to go to the finals. But yeah, maybe they win a game or 2, but they're still not close to contending. And if Giannis wants to win an NBA championship, he needs to find a way out of that situation.